They say that ignorance is bliss, but when it comes to crimes on college campuses, ignorance can be dangerous, and in some cases, fatal. According to the Department of Justice, 1 in every 4 rapes reported nationally results in an arrest, and of those, 62% result in convictions. According to a survey conducted by the Chicago Tribune of 6 Midwestern universities, the statistics for college campuses are far behind the rest of the nation. The survey found that only 1 in 14 of every sex crime reported on a college campus results in an arrest, and of those, only 33% result in convictions. This does not include the estimated 95% of sexual assaults that go unreported each year. Sally Davis, spokeswoman for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, attributes the disparity to the high frequency of student-on-student attacks. In an interview, she was quoted as saying, "Non-stranger sexual assault investigations are among the most challenging to effectively prosecute because oftentimes there is a relationship between the individuals, the consumption of alcohol may have been involved, and there are typically no witnesses to the incident." Though Daly's argument may seem legitimate, a little research will show that even when solutions to these problems present themselves, many victims still do not see justice. For example, according to Indiana state law, if an individual is drunk, he or she cannot knowingly consent to sex. By these standards, any reported sex crime at an Indiana college should immediately result in an investigation and an arrest. And though not all cases have witnesses, it is often true that even when there are, authorities still fail to take action, as was the case with one student at St. Mary's College in Indiana. The victim told the Tribune that after being kicked out of a party for being too drunk, she was raped by another student, and later found by a friend with blood running down her legs. She reported the incident, and various witness statements were submitted to campus police on her behalf. However, when the police interviewed the alleged attacker, he simply claimed innocence, and no charges were filed. The woman said that she regrets ever even reporting the incident. In an interview, she's quoted as saying, "It was a long and painful process, and in the end, nothing happened. The only way he would be found guilty is if he had said, 'Oh yes, I did rape her.'" This story is representative of thousands of instances in which victims not only see their abusers walk free, but have to endure the additional pain of reliving the experience during the reporting process. This not only discourages other victims from coming forth, but it teaches attackers that their actions have no consequences. Recent cases have shown that many of these problems may be due to the lack of importance that campus security departments give to sex crimes, as well as the feeling of isolation that victims face for bringing negative publicity to their school. These factors are particularly true in incidences involving college athletes. The following story, reported in the Chicago Tribune, illustrates these points. It begins with a girl and a few friends attending a party at an athlete's apartment where they were served alcohol. The woman recalls at one point she found herself trapped in a room with another athlete, where he forced her to perform a sex act on her. Moments later, she was locked in another room with 3 other athletes, where they each proceeded to sexually assault her. The woman reported the incident to campus security officers, who urged her not to take matters to the police because it would draw attention from the media. The officers did not report the incident to Milwaukee police, even though Wisconsin state law requires them to report any possible crime to local authorities. Instead, the athletes were tried in an administrative hearing by the school and were subject to team discipline. None of the athletes faced any type of suspension from playing time. Unsatisfied by the university's decisions, the victim decided to report the incident to Milwaukee police herself. This decision sparked an investigation that revealed that Marquette had been violating state law for years by consistently failing to investigate and notify local authorities of crimes on campus. During the police investigation of the case, several witnesses came forth saying that they had seen other instances of sexual assault at the party, but when the police contacted the victims, none were willing to press charges. Perhaps this is because that they wanted to avoid the negative backlash already being felt by the victim who had initially filed the allegations. Though her name was never released in the mainstream media, it did not stop students and others of the Marquette community from learning of her identity. She immediately became the victim of isolation and ridicule. Her friends blamed her for the negative consequences that the case would have on their social life. The girl that she had planned to room with the next year refused to live with her. Reporters pestered her family, and she was trashed by Marquette fan blogs. Despite all this, her decision to come forth has led others to do so as well. In another story covered by Ryan Haggerty of the Chicago Tribune, a woman tells a similar tale. After initially consenting to engage in sexual activity with a Marquette athlete, the victim says she changed her mind as her abuser became violent. She asked him to stop, but when she tried to leave, she said that he pinned her down and violently raped her. Afterwards, the victim went to the hospital, where she was reported to have internal abrasions, as well as injuries to her face, hip, knee, foot, and both thighs. She reported the crime to campus authorities, but they told her that they were not sure if it could be considered rape because it began as consensual. They did not file an official report and did not notify local authorities despite what state law requires. After hearing little from the security department over the next month, the victim began to feel neglected. She says that the school officials seemed to take interest in her case only after the allegations from the previous case involving the 4 athletes became public. She recalls meeting with Stephanie Quaid, Dean of Students, who urged her to focus on her studies and mental health rather than pursuing charges. She was quoted as saying, "I felt like they were trying to get me to be quiet and to disappear. I've never been made to feel so down, so stupid, and so much like I didn't know." The student filed a complaint against the university and withdrew from enrollment. Sometimes, these feelings of neglect and isolation have even graver consequences. ABC News covers the story of Lizzie Seberg, a 19-year-old student at St. Mary's College in Indiana. According to ABC, Lizzie filed a report with the university that she had been the victim of a sexual attack by a Notre Dame football player. The next day, Lizzie received a disturbing text message from a friend of the alleged attacker saying, "Don't do anything you regret. Messing with Notre Dame football is a bad idea." Lizzie, who suffered from anxiety and depression, took her life 3 days later. In an interview with ABC News, Lizzie's parents say what concerns them most is the university's lack of urgency in handling the situation. It took police 15 days to conduct an interview with the alleged attacker. That's 11 days after Lizzie's death. Tom Seberg, Lizzie's father, was quoted as saying, "If you look at that 2-week period of time, the football player took the field twice. That's 160,000 people that saw the individual before the police did. Anybody looking at the facts of this timeline has to reach the conclusion that this wasn't a serious investigation." Despite all the grief these cases have caused, some good has come of them. In response to the case of Lizzie Seberg, the Department of Education's Civil Rights Office conducted an evaluation of Notre Dame's policy of handling these types of allegations. An article in the South Bend Tribune details agreement drawn up by the DOE as a result of their findings. According to the article, Notre Dame has agreed to change its procedures. Among these changes, Notre Dame pledges to provide both parties the opportunity to supply evidence and access to peer support, as well as information of the procedures and a written notification of the outcome. They've agreed to make arrangements for those who do not want to be in the same room as their attacker during the disciplinary hearing. This is important because a major deterrent for many victims to come forth is the fear to face their attackers and be forced to testify in front of them. The schools also promised to give those who filed the complaints the same right to appeal the outcome as they have given the accused. It is my belief that the improved procedures will prevent future attacks from occurring, as well as ease the pain of the process, thus encouraging more victims to come forth and report the crimes. Other colleges will learn from these cases and choose to reevaluate and improve their own methods of handling these situations. It is my hope the schools begin to take these allegations more seriously, if not because it's the right thing to do, then at least because they've seen that when a school attempts to cover up events like these in order to save face, eventually the stories will surface and the negative consequences will be compounded. It is my hope that coverage of cases like these will increase awareness on the issue. Those who have scorned victims for coming forth will experience a change of heart. They'll realize the courage it takes to report and relive one of their lives' hardest events. People must realize that the actions of one person are not a reflection on an entire team or school, and the decision by one person to file allegations against their abusers are not an attack on an entire team or school either. They are merely a step towards achieving justice and preventing future crimes.